So let's get started. We are a software engineering club, and make sure these are our links. We're going to post all the stuff online after the tutorial. We post all of our tutorials online as well. We record them, and they're going to be on YouTube, and they're all on our website at ufsec.com. So you can, our website pretty much has all the information you need for everything. And yeah, I'll go to the next slide. So if you don't know about our club, we're a software engineering club, and we teach you guys the cool stuff that you don't learn in class. And this stuff is also like super valuable to know, really helpful for jobs, internships, hackathons, projects. This is the kind of stuff that will like set you apart from every other student in your programming class. I know there's like really massive classes and you learn like basic Java and C++ and data structures, but you don't really learn how to like make actual things like an app or a website or a game or a server or anything like that. And that's what you're going to be doing on the job, at an internship, at a hackathon, or whatever. So we want to help you learn those things like GitHub. Today we're going to teach Python, a really cool programming and scripting language, and how to make a game. Last year we did a bunch. We did iOS and Android workshops that were 3-part series. Yeah, and we're going to be doing a lot more of that stuff this semester as well. And so, cool, where can I learn this stuff? We're going to be meeting every other Wednesday, mostly every other Wednesday. Maybe sometimes it'll like be offset by a week or whatever. At 6:15, and we got this room for the entire semester, so that's really cool. So we're always going to be in this room, which is Little Hall 113. And you're going to keep up to date on our website mostly, and also our Facebook group. If you're not on the Facebook group, the link was on the first slide as well. And yeah, also we have a listserv that will send you emails every once in a while. We try not to spam you, and there's relevant information in there. And yeah, those are the 2 links there at the bottom. One cool thing that we're kind of starting to do, if you saw on the last email, was we're going to be sending out like kind of like job opportunities or project opportunities, because recently we've been having a lot of people reach out to us who want developers to work on a project or like a company idea or a research opportunity, and they asked me like, hey, like, do you have any people who know web, or who can make me an app, or who can make me like an Internet of Things kind of application? And I'm sure there's like tons of people who want to do those kinds of things, but it's hard to connect both of you too. So we're going to be having those like opportunities as a section on our emails. We just had like 2 on there on our last email, and also we're going to add a new section to our website too. So these are really good like jobs and stuff to do projects and get experience, so you can add it to your resume, and it's really, really good opportunities. And so these are our upcoming events briefly. Our next tutorial is going to be a Node.js web server tutorial. Node, the only real dev language, if you guys caught that meme. After that, we're going to be doing a really cool command line wizardry tutorial. So if you guys are not too familiar with the terminal or the command line, this is a really, really, really awesome tutorial that Max will be doing. He's done it a couple times before in the past years, and it's really awesome, and it allows you to not be scared of the command line or the terminal anymore, and really learn how to use it to its full potential. After that, we're going to be doing a Docker container tutorial. You might have heard that word before. It's became really popular in the last couple of years. And then next, we're going to be doing a React Native tutorial, which is a really, really cool opportunity. React Native is a library for making hybrid mobile apps. So you can write code and have an iOS app and an Android app at the same time. And it's a really cool technology that Facebook made and open sourced. And you write your code in JavaScript. So if you have web skills and you know JavaScript, then you can also make web apps on iOS and Android. So yeah, React Native, that's really cool. I'm really excited about that. And that's going to be probably like our last-ish tutorial. And so meet us. I wanted to introduce all of us. First, we have Jacob.
Hey, I'm Jacob, so I'm going to be giving the tutorial today. I'm the graphic design lead, so I like to do a lot of like stuff in Illustrator. It's what I spend most of my time doing.
But he also codes.
But I also code too. So that's what we're going to be doing the PyGame tutorial today. So it's going to be lit.
And then we have Danielle over here.
Hi, I'm the media coordinator for SEC, and basically I take pictures of the GBMs and I upload videos to our YouTube page, where you can see all of our tutorials in past years and this semester.
And we have Jeffrey.
Hey, so my name is Jeffrey Ornbeck, and basically The one that
Do the website.
I maintain the web and basically try to keep you guys up to date on new events, new tutorials, try to fix up the site, and like Sergio said, we're gonna try to add a back end to it later on, probably this semester, just for help you guys get jobs.
Jobs are good. And we have McKenna.
I'm McKenna. I send you guys those really great emails like once a week and stuff. I'm in contact with some of the people like working on those like opportunities and jobs and stuff. So if you ever have any questions about that, feel free to reach out, or ideas, stuff you want to see, like feel free. And if you're not on the email list already, if you sign in ufsec.com/sign-in, put your email in, we'll get you on that, and so you'll be subscribed and see everything coming your way.
And we have Michael.
What's up, guys? My name's Mike. I've done a couple tutorials for SEC in the past, but I'm one of the officers and I'm the treasurer of the club. We got some really cool things in the work this semester for things that you can actually have a treasurer for. So it's gonna be great. You got to see what's coming up.
He did really awesome Android tutorials last semester and actually last 2 weekends ago at Swampax. And we have Alex, who couldn't make it tonight.
He's a cool
Officer
guy.
number
He's a
one.
cool guy.
He's cool. He's doing the Docker tutorial in the future. And we have Max over here.
Yeah, guys, I'm Max. I'll be doing the command line tutorial 2 weeks from now, something like that. But yeah, I'm an officer of SEC.
And we have
Bradley. He's not in the club.
No,
I'm just kidding.
well,
He's working at SpaceX right now.
yeah, so he's our vice president, but he randomly got a last-minute internship at SpaceX for the spring, so he's in Los Angeles right now working. And then me, Sergio, you guys all know me. I'm the president. And yeah, so if you want to get involved, it's a really good opportunity to have on your resume, and even like being around this kind of stuff, you'll be able to learn and like be more exposed to these cool things that you don't really learn in class. So if you want to get involved, we're having elections for officer positions because a lot of us are graduating. I'm graduating.
Raise your hand, we're graduating.
No. Alex is graduating. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's moving around, so we're going to have lots of opportunities open. So the elections are going to be at our third GBM, which is March 22nd. And if you're interested, come talk to us and ask us questions. Send us Facebook messages, email us, whatever. It's just so we can connect your face to your name when we see like an application or whatever. It's good to get to know us. And all right, so now we're going to begin the tutorial, and I'll hand it off to Jacob. Thanks.
All right, anyone else need help?
So yeah, that was it with the intro. Now we're gonna build something cool. So let's go through. I'm gonna show you guys what we're gonna be making. So I'm running my Python scripts through the terminal. Also, can you guys see this? Is this too small over here? A little bit too small? Okay. It's not too important. I'm just navigating to the file and then running it in Python. So I'll make it big for you guys.
Jacob wants to dim the lights.
What?
Do you want to dim the lights?
Lights in the front? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it visible enough? Can you guys see that so far? Okay. So we are going to be. So this is the end game. So if you can see this, there's a green dot, and then once I start moving, I am playing the game, and then Snake is moving. Ooh, cool. And then I crashed up onto myself, and then so hit C to restart, and essentially this is how this works. If you run off the screen, you do that again. And so yeah, this is what we're going to be building. Let's see if I can do this. I'm really bad at this game. I've been playing it all day, and I cannot. Okay. So anyway, that's a fairly good example of how it's going to work. Cool. So let's get started with installing, because the installation is really frustrating. There it can be with PyGame and all of that. So I'm gonna sit down. So if you can run a script that says import PyGame, I'm going to blow this up in a second, but Python. And it doesn't crash, then we're good to go. So let me blow that up so you guys can see what I'm doing. I got disconnected? Yeah. Oh, that one.
That's you don't need that.
Oh, it's that
Just your charger also.
one. Yeah. I see it, guys. I know how that stuff works. So this is the goal right now. Import PyGame. And if you can run this, then you're good to go and are ready to start. So the way that I do this, right, if we go, if you don't know how to navigate the terminal, I'll do this. Okay, so you open up the terminal, right, and you're in your home directory. Then you can hit ls to navigate to your different files, and mine's in my Dropbox. So you can do cd to wherever your file is. To University of Florida. Okay, so now I'm in the directory where I have all of my files located, and I'm ready to start. So how is everybody doing with installation? Do we have PyGame? Do we have Python? Could you raise your hand if you have Python 2.7 installed on your computer? Okay, that's a good start. Do you know how to run Python scripts from your terminal, or just run them in general? Raise your hand if you know how to do that.
You should probably go over there.
Yeah, okay. So what I can do right now, so I'm going to delete this, or I'm just going to create a new file. So once I'm in the terminal, how similar is this to Windows, by the way? I don't know anything about Windows, I'm sorry.
LS doesn't do anything on ours.
LS doesn't do anything? Do you know? Yeah, pro tip, get a Mac. Wait, do we have any tips for navigating in terminal? Or also, if you're using a different Python IDE, like you can run Python scripts that way. We just really have to run something, right? I just like doing it in terminal, so I feel like elite coder.
So if you're on a Windows computer, if you install Python, you open a command prompt and navigate the folder that way. If you go to Python in the start menu, it's going to run Python directly, which is not what you want. So hopefully that makes sense. Should be start menu command prompt. You should be able to type the word Python, and something should happen. Wait, say that a little louder.
Import
You
PyGame.
should be able to run the command.
In the text
run
editor,
command
yes, correct.
Python, and you should see. I think it should tell you Python 2.7.
Yeah. So just to make things clear, also, this over here on the left side of the screen, this is my text editor. This is your Atom. This is I'm using Sublime Text. And then over here, this is my terminal. So this is what I'm going to use to just run the program. And I'm going to start in a few minutes. So just make sure that the things you need, Python, you need PyGame, and that's it. You need those two things to be able to do this.
If you think you've downloaded Python, but you're not quite sure,
Do you have your terminal open?
yeah,
Just
I don't know how to get it.
it's like, no.
and it said nope. Did you try installing Brew, Homebrew? Oh, on Windows. You don't have to do anything. Oh. Yes, correct. So you have Homebrew. Okay. So if you do have Homebrew right now on your computer and you're looking to get Python, you're looking to get PyGame, you're looking to get all this stuff together, and you're using a Mac, you can run brew install Python and Mercurial. So brew install Python Mercurial. And then brew install SDL, SDL image. All of this can also be found if you go to python.org, where I was showing earlier. Or pygame.org, sorry. And if you go down to the Macintosh Homebrew install instructions, these are the prompts that I was following to install. What's up? Yes. You just type in Python. And this will say Python 2.7.13. PyGame, you are going to create a Python script, so a file called something.py, and then at the top type in import PyGame, and then run the script. So let me show you how you do that. Also, if you get into this into the Python shell, if you hit Control C, that'll exit, or you can type exit. Yeah, it's Control D. So, I have a Python game. I have a file called something.py. I save it over here. I navigate to where it is, and then in the terminal, I just type in Python, and then the name of that file. I called mine Basilisk because we're making Snake, and I like Harry Potter. And then no errors. That's how you know that it works. Also, I'm sorry, this is like the really boring part. We're gonna be doing actually some real programming. Like this is what it looks like in the end. So we're gonna have a whole bunch of stuff, and we're gonna learn everything about Python.
We're just closest to our farmer down there. That's what the last time we couldn't figure out how to go back.
So raise your hand if you're having errors and you are not ready at all.
Wait,
Okay.
raise your hand if you have Windows and you're like good. Is there anyone who's like good with Windows? Like, good with Windows?
Yeah, does anybody know how to use Windows where they could help somebody out who also has Windows?
No.
Please? Alright, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Okay, so where are we right now if you have a Mac otherwise and you have no idea what you're doing? Someone just shout out something, I'll answer your question. I'm prompting in the right direction. What's up?
What's the folder for PyGame? What's it called when you just download it?
It can be anywhere. So if you use Homebrew to install it, which is what I recommend doing, it'll do all of that for you. So you don't have to worry about where you're installing PyGame. But are you talking about the Python folder?
So I tried to, like, I downloaded the PyGame
Okay.
folder earlier.
Right.
I downloaded it the first link on the website.
Okay.
And I tried the Homebrew thing that you did. It said it was like already installed.
Okay, and it didn't work with that? And so what happens if you do import PyGame? Have you tried doing that?
I tried to, I'm running the script on it.
Okay, let me, yeah, it should work.
So if I
Is it, I think it installs at the same location. Also, if you get totally lost, like feel free to just watch, and you can. And we have this recorded, so you can go through and look at this again. Also, there are lots of tutorials online too. Like I'm not the only resource that you need to be able to learn this.
Yeah, so like repeating that, if you get lost, you can't get the stuff working, don't stress, just like chill and watch, and then try to figure it out later, and then you can just re-watch the video when we post it online. But it's good to just hang out and watch and listen, even if you aren't following along directly. So don't stress if you can't get the tools downloaded and installed.
Yep. You got Windows.
Any tips? You should give some tips.
Yeah, you should give tips. I think she needs some.
yeah.
You need help too.
I do.
What's up?
I don't know, it just finished installing Python
Python? Okay.
through Homebrew, but it says that Homebrew site packages aren't in my Python SYS.
Pythons.
Oh yeah, and then you just go in terminal. Make sure you're in the right place in terminal, like where your file is, right? You know, like navigate to different directories.
No, I just did
And you're in your desktop, in your terminal. In your terminal, you're at your desktop.
Well, when I type in desktop,
Oh, you have to like CD into it and stuff. So it should be CD. Come and look, we'll get some of the stuff. Yeah, it should be like CD, like still You should make an announcement about some tips. Yeah, I kept this for you.
I think so. It should. Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right. Any other questions? Any like spots that are really just frustrating? What's up? Only for 32-bit Windows? I think it's also for 64 and 86. I have. If you just download the 2.7, it'll work on the 64.
It should be in your when you
Yes.
Not from the prompt.
Wait, from
Not
the shell?
Not from the Python shell, no.
Oh. Are you sure?
Maybe you can, I don't know. Google it. Maybe you can.
I don't know how to do that.
Google it really quick.
So who would be ready to start programming right now? If you could raise your hand, only like a couple people. Okay. And where is everyone stuck? Is it installing PyGame? Is it getting Python on your computer? Is it the terminal? What's up?
So to install PyGame, so I'm
Yeah.
updating Xcode and that takes a while.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Also, yeah, I forgot to mention that too. Sometimes when you're using that, you have to update Xcode because you need a C compiler. I remember, yeah, I know, like that happened to me once too. What's up?
Yo guys, so Jeffrey has a working on Windows and he'll give you like some general tips.
So who needs help on Windows? Okay, so that's a lot. So the first thing, hopefully everyone has a newer computer. It's not like 86-bit, but 32-bit. A calculator. So when you go, first thing you gotta do is download PyGame 2.7. So literally type in PyGame 2.7 into Google. Go to the first one. And then it's going to say Python 2.7.1 or 0. It's going to redirect you to 2.7.12 and download that. After you download that one, make sure you install it first before you even download the PyGame, download PyGame. So after you have that downloaded, go to PyGame, and the first Windows link it'll give you, after you download that, make sure that after all that's downloaded, just double click, go to find your Python. It's going to be command script. So unlike the Mac users who get to use a text editor and a command,
terminal. Yeah.
We can only use the terminal part. So we're going to have.
You can't import files into that?
I just figured out how to do this part. So like.
Oh. Okay.
So instead of using a text
Oh, that's
editor.
not okay. What about using PyCharm?
I think after that it should be alright.
I need to start. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to start. Like I don't know. Installing Python can be really frustrating sometimes, and I'm really sorry. Like if it's not installed yet, but we can't really spend too much more time on this. So again, if you're not following, like if you don't have it and you can't run it on your computer, it's fine. Not going to be the end of the world. You can watch this later. Even just watching this, you'll learn more about programming. All right, so I'm gonna get started with this. PyGame is working, right? And the way that we can test this, I can just throw in a print statement and I'll say, yay, it's working. And then I can run the script and it will say, hey, it's working. Great, so we have it installed. All right, first step now. So to make PyGame work, the first thing that we have to do is we have to initialize the library, right? Because we're importing all of this code, but it's not initialized within the file. So the way that we do that is we run pygame.init, and that's all that we have to do for that. So this is going to be the boilerplate code for the script, just to make sure that how these games work in general. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to create a window that we're going to display. And the way that we do that is I'm going to create a variable called gameDisplay equals pygame. From the library, we're going to be looking at display.setMode. And in here, we need to define the size of the screen that we want to display. How big does our window want to be? And this only takes in one variable, so we're going to pass in a tuple. Don't worry about it. It's like an immutable list or a mutable list. And so we enter in the dimensions. I want this to be 800 pixels wide and 600 pixels tall. So 800 and 600. So that's our game display. Now we have our window. And so the way that PyGame works is it's a very simple graphics engine, right? It's doing all this back-end stuff for us, and it's really wonderful. And so all that we have to do is we have to do the logic behind it. But the way that it works is it's kind of like a flip book. Like you draw a picture, and then you have to flip to the next page, and then there's another picture. And then when you flip through all those pages, you can see that type of movement. So the way that you move to the next page is you update the screen. So you do pygame.display.update. And that will be flipping to that next page. And then we also want to be able to, quit the game. So pygame.quit, and then we actually quit it. So this is just the basic boilerplate code. If I run this, you'll see for a very brief second that a window is created, and then it's updated, and it's instantly quit. So if I run Python Basilisk, once it compiles, hey, there was a window there. And I'm assuming it was 800 by 800. So again, that's just the boilerplate code. Now let's add a title to this and make it so you can actually view it, right? So the way that you add a title to Pygame is you say pygame.display.setCaption. I don't know why they used caption instead of title, but here we are. And I'm going to call this Basilisk, because it's a little bit edgier than Python or Snake. So Basilisk, and then right now we can see that title if you can see instantly quickly, but we still need to make the game actually run. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to use a while loop, and we're going to call it a game loop, and it's just going to keep iterating through until certain conditions are met. So I'm going to create that condition first. Let's say game exit equals false. Right, so then if the game exit is ever true, then we'll know to leave. And it's always good to name your variables so it's easy to understand. So I'm going to create a while loop that's going to keep running as long as this condition is valid. While not game exit, and then you use a colon afterwards. And this is the general Python syntax. So while not game exit, while game exit is false, then we're going to run this code. So this is going to be the code that's actually in the script. And to display how, to give you an example of what PyGame does and why it makes it so much easier for me to make a game, I'm going to show you all the different events that are triggered by your computer. So I'm going to do a for loop for event in pygame.event.get. And this pygame.event.get is going to list every single action that your computer is sending to Pygame. It's just going to output that into the terminal. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to print the event. Okay? So right now, we created a game loop, and we're going to print out whatever events are. Let's find that out. So we run this. Cool. So we have this window finally. This is the window I was telling you about. And then over here, we have all these different types of events that are going around. Notice that whenever I move around the screen, these are going to be mouse events. And it'll also indicate if it's on the screen, off the screen, on, off, or if I press different keys. It'll tell me what key it is and what I pressed. But if I hold down a key, notice it doesn't move, right? But if you look down here, it'll say a key down, and then when I release the key, there's another event key up. So there's a lot of things that you can do when you're designing games that will implement both of those different features. So let's quit that. So that's what events are, and that's what we're going to be using to run the script. And that's the really useful thing behind PyGame, because I don't want to go through and write all of the scripting that makes that happen, right? It's much easier to use just that logic once it's already implemented within the game. So now we want to be able to quit the game whenever I hit the exit button. So if you'll notice, whenever I ran that last script, even if I hit the X button, I can't leave, right? I'm pressing it. You just have to believe me. But over here, let me see if I can show it to you. There's a quit event. So I have to connect that quit event that PyGame's getting to the script so it exits that for loop. And I'm just doing a hacky way to exit right now. What are you guys doing over there? I think if you want to change the lighting, I think you have to change the ones up here.
The lights all around.
It's all good. Stop helping. Okay. So let's test to get that exit or that quit event, right? If, and it's called event.type, is that event that we were getting. So event, or PyGame, sorry. game.quit. And that's the name of the event and the type of the event. So the type of the event is going to be key down, key up, and in this case, that hitting the X in the corner of the screen is called quit. So then to exit that for loop, we want to set game exit equals to true. So then once we hit that button, we'll be able to leave. Cool, running the game, and hey, it works. So now that's our first example of interaction with PyGame through our computer. Okay, so again, this is still really boring stuff, but it would be cool to put something into the display where it would change color, right? So let's do that. I'm going to add a white background and show you how you can add different colors and stuff to PyGame. So unfortunately, you have to manually include all of your own colors. There isn't like a basic white, red variable or anything. But if you're familiar with RGB, that's what you have to use here. So let's say this variable called white is equal to R, which is the max 255, G, max 255 also, and then B, 255 also. You don't have to know exactly how this works, but essentially that's how you define colors, and that's how computers view them. And now let's do the opposite. Let's say black is equal to 0, so the absence of light, right? And then just an example of another color. Let's say red is 255, 0, and 0. Okay, so now that we have those variables created, let's implement them into the background of the screen. So the way that you fill the background, you say game display, right? That window size, that window that we created earlier. We're going to fill it, and let's fill it with white first. And then once we do this, let's run it and see what happens. Oh no, it's still black. Why is it still black? Well, remember what I was saying about that flipbook idea? We have to update the display to actually view that next screen once we make a change. So I'm just going to move this guy down here. Cool. I don't want to buy you Sublime. Never. I hit that button so many times every day. Cool. So now we have that white background. Or if we want to make it red, we can just change that variable to red. I'll just show you real quick. Cool. All right. So that's the basic way of how you include colors. Also, I recommend if you're learning how to develop, you use a terminal, because even if it looks kind of convoluted, when other people see you using it, they're like, oh my god, they're hacking the internet. So 10 out of 10 would recommend using terminal. Especially Vim. If you know what Vim is, you're already on point. Okay, so now we want to draw a rectangle on the white screen. So before the update, we want to, you don't know what Vim is? Get out of here. Okay, so PyGame dot draw, and then we're going to get rect. That was a joke, you guys. So then the first input to this function is going to be the display itself, so the window, display. The second one is going to be the color, so let's just draw a black box. And then this third input, the third parameter for the function is going to be the rectangle itself. So where is it positioned, and then what are the dimensions? So the first input is going to be the width, so where is the X location going to be? And let's say 400. Then the Y location, let's say 200. And then the width, let's say 20. And then the height, let's go 100, right? So let's see how this goes, and then I'll explain how PyGame interprets your colors, or your dimensions. Ta-da! Okay, so something interesting to look about this is, look, we have 400 and 200, so 400 this way and 200 this way. So that's where it starts, right? But the width is, or the height is 100, so shouldn't the height go upwards? But the way that it works is, imagine this is a grid, and it starts with 0 down here, and our max dimensions over in the other corners. So that's the way that PyGame works. It defines top down. And this is also similar to how Python interprets different shapes. Generally, this formatting is pretty standard for web layout if you want to learn front-end stuff. So now that we have our box, let's move on to the next one. Let's do movement. So we've done a lot of really boring, just putting stuff on the screen, kind of. Let's make something interesting. So what I want to do now is I'm going to make this move. But right now, we're doing a lot of hard coding, right? Like, you never want to see numbers as parameters to your inputs, right? Like, you want to be able to change one thing and then the entire script adapts to that. So the first thing that we're going to do, let's make this display variable. So display width is 800. And then the display height. How's the sizing, by the way? Can you guys see this? Can you read it well? Do you want me to make it larger? Is it good? Okay. So display width and display height. All right, that's working. So let's plug that in here. Display width. And then height. Cool. Does anybody know the name of the programming, of the object-oriented programming principle that uses? Anyone? You'll get a sticker if you answer that.
What was this again?
The idea of making things scalable by using variables to define things. Never mind, sir, do.
I don't know, man.
Don't worry about it. Hey, you already have a sticker.
What was the answer?
Encapsulation.
Okay.
So right now we have, variables, and it's working. Cool. But if we make an object, we want to manipulate it with those buttons, and then we want to store the location so we can update it and just make things work. So I'm going to define two variables called lead x and lead y, and this is going to be the location of the head of the snake. This is, what we're starting to ease into. So lead x is going to equal whatever we want right now, and then lead y. And again, this is going to be the front of the snake. Right? This is going to be our first object. So with these two variables defined, if we put them into this draw, right, then we can manipulate what they're doing. So let's do the x variable as the x coordinate, and then the lead y as the y coordinate. And then just to make this uniform, let's start using 10 as our size. So pretty much what this is doing is it's just nothing right now. So let's start the snake in the middle of the screen instead of the top left. It'd be easier to spot it out of nowhere. And a way to do this is display width divided by 2, and then the height divided by 2. So we'll just kind of arbitrarily throw it in the center of the screen. Okay. So that's what it's doing right now. Let's check to see if this works, that our snake is there. And it's just going to look like a box. Cool, exciting, fun, black box. Okay, so let's make it move. So the different type of events right over here. So event type is quit if you hit the quit button, but we're not going to hit the quit button. We're going to hit the arrow keys. So otherwise, if the event dot type is equal to a key down, so PyGame dot key down. Remember how I was saying how when you press down a key, it's an event, or if you release it, it's an event. So if it's a key down, then we want, and it's also left or right. So then if event.key is pygame.k left. So if we press down a button, and if that button is the left button, then let's update the location. Lead x is going to be minus equals 10. Right? Let's just move it to the left 10. And again, let's move it right now. If the key is equal to pygame.key right, lead y plus equals 10. So the way that this is going to work is it's just going to run inside the for loop, and it's going to say, all right, if you press this button, let's just subtract the x coordinate and then the y coordinate, and we'll run it. And so every iteration of this loop, it's going to flip that page, and it's going to update the location. So if I run this, and if once it loads, so once I press, hey, okay, that's interesting. When I hit the right button, it's moving down, right? And if I hit the left button, it's moving left. And the reason it's doing that is because I said lead y over here. So once I have this, hey, we have movement on the screen, finally. But the thing is, if I hold down a key, it's just gonna stay there, and that's not really fun for game implementation. Also, I can't move up or down. I can only move left or right one time. But this is the basics of how movement is gonna work. You're just gonna update the location of that value, like a flipbook. So that's that right there. So now let's make it move automatically. Because in Snake, you can't just decide, hey, let's move over here one, and we'll go up one, because that would be a really terrible game. So let's make this automatically move. Right now what we're doing is we're taking like directly the variable and we're saying, all right, this is the location of it. But what if we want to define motion, right? So we all know that motion is velocity and it has a position coordinate but also a time value.
Physics.
Hey, physics sometimes is important. So we want to implement something called the change. Lead X change is what I'm going to call it. Also, don't name your variables like this. It's just really, I don't know. I'm just doing this because it's easier to read. But you do want your variables to be readable. So lead X change, this is going to say, all right, what's our delta position? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to change this lead X to lead X change. And then I'm going to set it to -10. And then also down here, I'm going to say lead X change is equal to +10. That's an F. And so, okay, so we have this right now. But if I run this, lead X change isn't anything to our program right now. What we want to do is we want to update the value depending on what that change is. So let's do lead X is going to add whatever that change is. Lead X change. So every time it updates, it's not going to be looking for what I'm saying to it. It's going to say, all right, well, last time we moved left, let's move left again. Unless if I move right, then we'll change direction and I'll add 10 to that. So let's see what this does right now. Okay, cool. If I hit left, and it's gone. If I go right, and it's gone again. Okay. So right now we have movement if I hit the left or right key. I can hold down a button and it moves. Generally it works, right? So again, that's the very simple movement that we're going to be using, but we're going to incorporate that in a lot of different ways. I think, what do I have planned next? So if you notice what I did there, it didn't look very gamey, right? It didn't look kind of old school Snake. It was moving really fluid, really fast. Versus in Snake, it's usually kind of segmented, right? We want a pixelated game. We're trying to go for that vibe. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to incorporate a clock because we need to set the frames per second. Also, depending on what computer you're running, that animation will go a lot faster or a lot slower because it's just going to be whatever your processor is running. So a way to manually set that is you have to include the clock. So after you initialize the game, let's include that clock. This clock variable is going to be equal to PyGame's time.clock. Rad. So this is, PyGame conveniently does this for us. We don't have to use the system's time or anything like that. We can just say, hey, here's our clock. And then what we want to do with that also is at the end of the while loop right now, it's instantly checking, hey, is game exit true? All right, if it's not, then we're going to keep running. So that's what's going to make it go really quickly. But if we add, some type of variable in there that'll increment it at a steady pace, that'll allow us to do that frames per second. So what I'm going to do is at the bottom of the while loop, I'm going to say clock dot tick, and this is where I set the frames per second. I'm going to set it to 30 here. So that means for every 30 frame, it's gonna increment the while loop 30 frames per second. So normally in a for loop, you can say, all right, run this, and then I++, right? And you'll go to the next one. This is going to do that for us, but on a time basis. So if I run this, all right, cool. There's our motion that is going to be a lot easier to work with. Cool. All right, so we got that. Now let's incorporate other directions of movement, right? So right now we're moving down or sideways. Let's move up and down. So I have lead X and I have lead Y also. Let's manipulate lead Y. Does anybody have any questions so far as to what I'm doing, why I'm doing something? What's up?
Can you go back to like the clock?
Which one? The clock? Yeah. That line right there. So I'm just going to essentially copy this code over here. I'm moving left and right. It's the same thing for up and down. Did you get that line? Clock equals pygame.time.clock capitalized. All right. So I'm going to type it again so you can follow what I'm doing. So the other event is if event.key is pygame.k up, then we want to subtract lead Y. Because remember what I said before about the basis or the origin of the graph is top left. So if we go positive, then we'll go down. So lead Y change is going to be minus 10. And then another if event.key equals pi down. Lead Y change. Yeah, I messed up. Thank you though. Equals 10. Cool. And then we have to update that down here. Lead Y. Okay, and that should work. Another thing that we might want to do to improve some performance, it wouldn't really be a big idea, but if you're a computer scientist, this will be something that'll irk you. We have a lot of these if statements right here. So even if I press left, it's going to run through the rest of this code anyway. And I don't want that to happen. If I press left, I want to go left, and I don't want to care about anything else. So we're just going to turn these into else ifs. And the way the notation with Python is using elif. So let's see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to go left, right, now I'm going to go up, down. Kind of looks like Pong, right? So that's definitely not what we want to do. Sorry, I'm having way too much fun with this. Okay, so the way that we want to do this is whenever we change X, we want to say, okay, stop doing whatever you're doing to Y. We just want to go in this one direction. It's going to be a very simple game. So whenever I change X, I'm going to say, yeah, don't change Y. We're going to reset that to 0. Equals 0. And then X change. And if you don't have Sublime, I recommend you get Sublime and not Atom, because you can do, I don't know, it's really cool shortcuts. So I can do, don't get Atom, don't listen to him. X change is going to be 0, and then cool. X goes to 0 and Y changes. X changes. All right, cool. Let's see how this goes. And if this works, we should get our basic, movement. Hey! All right, cool. So we can go back and forth. We can do all these things. Cool. So that's our basic functionality. But if you just saw, I exited the screen. Right? We don't want to do that. We want to make a game ending condition when you leave the screen. So I'm going to, right now, it's moving in this grid system that I defined of 10 pixels. So I want to make that variable constant throughout so I don't have to keep writing 10, like what I was saying about that encapsulation issue. So let's just define, up here the basic block size. And then I'm going to copy that wherever, or paste that wherever I have a 10. I just put it anywhere that there was a 10. Okay, just make sure I didn't mess up anywhere. Well, it all works. All right. Sure. So just anywhere above the game loop, I said, all right, this is going to be the increment that I'm going to work with. And you can set that to anything. You can set that to 1 pixel. You can set that to 1,000,000. Well, probably not, but you could do something along those lines. So now that we have that, let's also do the FPS, the frames per second, just to be cleaner. Frames per second, I want to set it to 30. And then over here. Again, this part isn't really important. It's just me being OCD about that kind of stuff. So right now we're moving, we can move off the screen, so let's change that. This is going to be our first example of how you do, collision. Because eventually we're going to want to bump into an apple and then turn it into a snake. And, just the idea of 2 things running into each other is really important. So this is our first example of that. We want to set the border and then also make a game exit condition. So I'm going to do one simple if statement inside the game exit loop. And I'm going to say if it's not in the bounds of the screen. If we ever moved outside of the boundary, then, delete then exit the program. So if not, and then just for cleanliness, I'm going to put these parentheses so you can follow what I'm doing. 0 is less than lead x. And what that means is if we ever get past the left boundary, or if we get to the display width. So as long as it's inside the bounds, we're good to go. But if it's not, then it's going to break. Yeah.
After that,
Really?
Yeah, some people have the room at like 7:30 for like.
Oh, are you serious? I thought we had
We have
longer.
it until like 7:15ish. So, but like normally there's not many people after.
Damn,
But like
okay.
this time there is, unfortunately.
All right, I'll post a link to where you can find more info about this. Man, that bums me out. We're going to do such cool stuff. Or it's outside the boundary. So I'm just going to say if it's, there. Then game exit is true. So, cool. And it exits. Hey, cool, so we have that condition. Okay, so apparently we have to leave, so that's really a bummer.
Yeah, I guess we spent a little too much time like on the setup.
On the install, I swear, Python can be so frustrating sometimes.
But yeah, thank you guys for coming. Like I said, don't stress if you weren't able to follow. As you saw, that was a very small amount of code, and you were able to make a visual game with a very small amount of code, which I think is really, really cool. And we'll be posting the code, the video, the completed code, I'm sorry, the video, and the slides and everything online. So look out in the email and on the Facebook group. And we also found out how to get it working on Windows. So Mike is going to post also a small instruction sheet with a couple instructions on how to get it working on Windows. So thank you for coming. Feel free to come and ask any questions if you have any. Thank you. We usually finish all tutorials. Sorry.
You what? What about the terminal thing? What's up?
I just have a quick question about PyGame, because I got Python and everything, but when I have import PyGame on the top, whenever I try to run it through terminal, it tells me there's no module being plugged in. Oh, really?
Yeah, but did you install PyGame through Homebrew?
I don't know. I thought it was doing that, but it may not have. How can I check to see if PyGame is...
You're going to have to ask this guy. He probably has more knowledge on that particular aspect.
What's up? When you download PyGame, did you download the top one?
For Mac, you should do it through Homebrew.
For Mac, I did it through Homebrew. So if you go a little bit down, it says Homebrew install instructions. Yeah, and if you follow what that guy posted.